Regarding the death and resurrection of the Messiah, are we taking the phrase 3 days and 3 nights too literal? Was it 71 hours or 73 hours? Or was it exactly 72 hours? How was Jesus in the grave for a full 3 days and 3 nights, but rise on the third day? Maybe Jesus was not in the grave for a full 3 days. That's something to think about. Shalom and Shalom Israel. Hello Christians. What up everyone else? Welcome to today's episode of Something to Think About, presented by the brothers. Today's topic is 3 days and 3 nights. How long was Jesus in the grave? Hashtag 3 days, 3 nights. I will attempt to show that Jesus was not in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights and that he literally rose on the third day. Here is the agenda for today's presentation. I will go over some puzzle pieces or some terms that I need to define to help with today's presentation. We will go over the days leading up to the Passover celebration. Then there's 3 days and 3 nights. We need to define on the third day and the heart of the earth. Then there's a day of preparation, what happens next. And then we got the first day of the week. Finally, I will summarize what we've discussed. I plan on reading most of the information presented since there might be some people who are unable to watch and can only listen. Let's quickly go over some administrative details before we get started. I plan to cite 5 Bible verses, all from the Bible Gateway. That's the KJV, the new KJV, NLT, RSV, and the NIV. I also plan to cite a website called One Gospel. We'll talk about that in a minute. I also plan to reference the Internet Archive, the complete works of Philo, and the complete works of Josephus. This is our fair use disclaimer regarding all copyrighted content. This video is for educational and scholarly purposes only. Please pause the video if you want to read this disclaimer. This is our doctrine disclaimer. This video contains our personal opinions and interpretations only and is not meant to dictate doctrine where you teach. This video does not contain hate speech nor advocate violence of any kind. Pause if needed. Before we get started, let's give all praises to the Most High. How we do it.
All praise to the Most High.
All right now.
All
Sing it.
praise to the Most High.
Go ahead, brother.
All
Come on now.
praise to the Most High.
All right now.
All
All praise.
praise to the Most High.
Praise him. Come on now. Come on.
All praises.
All praises.
Come on now.
praises. Come on now.
Go ahead.
Praises. Praises. High. Praises. High. To the Most High.
Yahawah.
All right, now we can begin. 3 days and 3 nights. Let's explain a few things before we get started. First, I want to explain once again the reason I will refer to evening as the end of a day. The next several slides in this presentation will be a repeat of episode 38, Did Jesus Eat the Passover at the Last Supper? I believe this review on the definition of evening is important in understanding how we can determine what exactly is meant by the phrase 3 days and 3 nights. All right, let's start with Deuteronomy 16 and verse 6, RSV. But at the place which the Lord your God will choose to make his name dwell in it, there you shall offer the Passover sacrifice in the evening at the going down of the sun, at the time you came out of Egypt. Here we see that evening is associated with the going down of the sun. The next passage is in regards to the death of King Ahab. Again, we're going to see the use of the word evening in that passage. For that, let's go to 2 Chronicles 18 and verse 34, RSV. And the battle grew hot that day, and the king of Israel propped himself up in his chariot facing the Syrians until evening. Then at sunset he died. The NLT words it this way: the battle raged all that day, and the king of Israel propped himself up in his chariot facing the Arameans. In the evening, just as the sun was setting, he died. So here again, we see that evening is associated with the sun setting. Next, let's go to the complete works of Josephus, The Antiquity of the Jews, for another example. How does the historian Josephus describe the day? Here on page 790, we will see that Josephus mentions the beginning of a day and the end of a day. It reads, and gave a signal beforehand with a trumpet at the beginning of every 7th day in the evening twilight, and also at the evening when the day was finished, as giving notice to the people when they were to leave off work and when they were to go to work again. Evening twilight, beginning of the 7th day when you are off of work. Evening, end of the 7th day when you are to go back to work again. All right, for this next source, we're going to go to the complete works of Philo, the complete and unabridged. Philo of Alexandria, title On the Creation. Let's see how the philosopher Philo describes a day. We will go to chapter 9 and verse 34. It reads, These boundaries are evening and morning, the one of which heralds in good tidings that the sun is about to rise, gently dissipating the darkness, and evening comes as the sun sets, receiving gently the collective approach of darkness. So here we see that Philo associates the evening with the setting of the sun. So we have Josephus, Philo, and the Hebrew writings in agreement that the evening marks the end of the day as the sun is setting. Let's go over the parts of the day that I will use in this video. I do want to emphasize that this is how we will break down the day. Day starts with sundown and or night, morning, day, afternoon, and as the sun is setting, we have evening. So next, I want to explain why I have the Passover being eaten at night on the first day of unleavened bread. The Passover sacrifice. The details whether Jesus ate the Passover are addressed in video, Did Jesus Eat the Passover at the Last Supper? That was episode 38. However, I still need to present some slides showing the reason why the Passover is eaten at night on the first day of unleavened bread. This is part of the 3 days that I need to cover for this video. So let's see when the sacrifice takes place. Let's go to Exodus 12 and verse 6, RSV. And you shall keep it until the 14th day of this month, when the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill their lambs in the evening. 2 Chronicles 35 and 1, KJV. Moreover, Josiah kept the Passover unto the Lord in Jerusalem. and they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the first month. So we have Exodus 12 and 2 Chronicles 35, both showing that the Passover sacrifice is on the 14th. Now let's look and see when the meal is eaten. For that, let's go back to Exodus 12, starting at verse 6, KJV. And ye shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. Skipping to verse 8, and they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Skipping to verse 10, and ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning shall burn with fire, shall ye burn with fire. So it takes time to roast the sacrifice. By the time it is ready, it will be night. In fact, the Israelites are instructed to eat the Passover meal at night, so it is going to be the next day. At night with unleavened bread. By the time it is night, we are in the next day, which starts the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The lamb roasted with fire shall be eaten with unleavened bread. This feasting takes a while, and they are told not to let any remain until the morning. This feast occurs after the Passover sacrifice on the 14th, which is referenced as the preparation day in the gospel accounts that we're going to see later. Now let's look at passages regarding the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Let's go to Leviticus 23 and verse 6, KJV. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. Numbers 28 and 17, KJV. And in the 15th day of this month is the feast. 7 days shall unleavened bread be eaten. So it seems to fit that the Passover lamb is sacrificed on the 14th, roasted for a while, and eaten a few hours later on the 15th with unleavened bread. Now let's put this together with the days of the week that I will be using for this video. For this video, I'm going to align the 14th with a Friday. So there you have it. The 14th is on a Friday. This will be the day of preparation. We got the 15th, which is on a Saturday. That's going to be the Sabbath day. And then we will witness the empty tomb on the 16th, the first day of the week, which is a Sunday. So we acknowledge that many people believe in a lunar Sabbath, while others believe in a weekly Sabbath. So this is not entering into that debate. We are using this scenario as an example for this presentation only to make a point. I will address the Passover on Wednesday the 14th in a different video, Lord willing. So what we have is a day of preparation or the Passover sacrifice on Friday the 14th. You are to kill the lamb in the evening. You are to roast it for a while and then eat it at night. That switches days. We are now in the first day of unleavened bread, where you eat the Passover meal. That's how we're going to do this in this video. Then the 16th will be Sunday, or the first day of the week. That's when we witness the empty tomb. All right, do the puzzle pieces fit? So are the terms I have defined going to fit the gospel accounts for today's topic, 3 days and 3 nights? Let's see. What do you think? Before you continue with this video, we have a few questions. Was Jesus the Passover sacrifice? Did Jesus rise on the third day or after 3 days and 3 nights? How do you define heart of the earth? Exactly how many hours was Jesus in the grave? Pause this video and put your answers in the comments section. Well, I hope you paused the video and provided some answers. We definitely want to hear from you. Let's continue. This is one of the sources I'm citing for today's video, One Gospel. One Gospel, OG, combines the stories of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John into one complete narrative. Integration of these accounts brings elements together of certain topics that may otherwise be missed while studying the Gospels independently. Today's focus is on the topic of 3 days and 3 nights. Here is a table generated from one gospel showing the passages used from the 4 accounts, which is what we are going to follow today. All 4 accounts are in order from 6 days prior to the feast all the way through the resurrection. So as you see, we're going to cite Matthew in order that it's in the current gospel accounts. We're going to cite Mark in order, right? Luke is going to be in order, and John is going to be in order. This is Thursday in this video, the 13th of the month, Thursday the 13th. In our video, The Last Supper, we started the narrative 6 days before the Passover feast. Today, we're going to start here. On the 14th, which is a Friday, is the preparation or the sacrifice. The feast will be on 15th, which is the Saturday in this video. And then we will have the empty tomb on the 16th. All right, so we will start this discussion 2 days before the Passover celebration meal, or what is called the first day of unleavened bread. They're the same in this video. Pause the video if you need to read over the slide more closely. All right, so days leading up to the Passover celebration. Okay, so what we're going to do, when you see a slide like this, the orange arrow usually moves this way from left to right, and you can see right now it is on Thursday the 13th. Where its position is about night, and we put night right here, so that's how you're going to read this slide when you see it. All right, first let's go to Mark 14, starting at verse 1, KJV. After 2 days was the feast of the Passover, and of unleavened bread. And the chief priests and the scribes sought how they might take him by craft and put him to death. Verse 2, but they said, not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar of the people. The chief priests have today and tomorrow to get him. We will see later that when they go to apprehend Jesus, it was not on the feast day, but it was the day before, which is the Passover sacrifice, a day before the Passover meal. This is the Mark account. Now let's see the Luke and Matthew accounts for the start of Thursday the 13th. Let's go to Luke 22 and verse 1, KJV. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover. Matthew 26 and 2. Ye know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover. So these 3 accounts establishes where we are in the week. We're on Thursday the 13th. All right, so when we see a slide like this one, what I'm going to reference is at the bottom of the screen, and the content will be placed on the screen in this area right here. All right, so that's how we're going to read these screens when we see it. So Thursday the 13th at night, the parable of the 10 virgins, the parable of the bags of gold, the sheep and the goats. Further, we have Jesus predicts his death again. There was a plot against Jesus by the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Do not kill him during the Passover celebration. They were afraid of the people's reaction. Judas went unto the chief priest. What are you willing to give me? They gave him 30 pieces of silver. Judas began looking for an opportunity to hand over Jesus. The orange arrow has moved over to the right some. We are now in the daytime portion of Thursday the 13th. The Passover celebration is in 2 days. You might be thinking there's not enough time for Jesus to be in the tomb 3 days and 3 nights. He's not even been crucified yet. Wait and see. "3 days and 3 nights. So let's start looking into the details of this phrase, 3 days and 3 nights, before we continue walking through our narrative. There are several subtopics to discuss before we can move forward. This includes the following. On the 3rd day. In 3 days, I will raise it up. In the heart of the earth. Belly of hell. We need to discuss all of these details before I can proceed with our narrative. Let's start with the phrase, on the 3rd day. Let's go to Matthew 16 and 21, KJV. From that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and the chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and be raised again the third day. See also Mark 8:31, Luke 9:22. Next, let's go to Matthew 17, starting at verse 22, KJV. And while they abode in Galilee, Jesus said unto them, The Son of Man shall be betrayed into the hands of men. 23, and they shall kill him, and the third day he shall be raised again. And they were exceeding sorry. See also Mark 9:31, Luke 9:44. Now let's go to Matthew 20, starting at verse 18, KJV. Behold, we go up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man shall be betrayed unto the chief priests and unto the scribes, and they shall condemn him to death. 19. And shall deliver him to the Gentiles to mock, and to scourge, and to crucify him, and the third day he shall rise again. See also Mark 10:32-34, Luke 18:31-33. So as you can see, all three of these passages in Mark chapters 16, 17, and 20 have parallel accounts in Mark and Luke. A couple of things to address. None of these passages say that the Messiah will be in the grave for 3 days. Instead, they say that all of these events will take place over a period of 3 days. These events must take place. Go to Jerusalem, be delivered into the hands of men, suffer many things, be crucified, rise on the third day. Now I will use an example of being sick to help better understand the phrase on the third day. It's a simple example. Let's just go over this. How long have I been sick? So let's use the 12-hour meridian clock format that we're used to here in the States. 12 midnight is the end and start of the day. All right, so we're going to start here. I get sick around 6 p.m. Tuesday the 25th. Around 9 p.m., I tell somebody that this is the first day I've been sick. There is no argument about how long I've been sick, although I have not been sick a full 24 hours. Around 11 a.m. Wednesday the 26th, I tell somebody that this is the second day since I've been sick. There is no argument about how long I've been sick, although I have not been sick for even a full day, 24 hours. Around 11 p.m. later that same day, I also tell somebody that this is the second day since I have been sick. Again, there is no argument about how long I've been sick, although I have not been sick for a full 2 days or 48 hours. Around 8 a.m. the following day, Thursday the 27th, I tell somebody that this is the third day since I've been sick. Again, there is no argument about how long I've been sick. I clearly have not been sick for a full 3 days or 72 hours. In fact, I've only been sick for 38 hours, not even a full 2 days. Around 2 p.m. the same day, the 27th, I recover from my illness. I tell somebody that I recovered on the third day from my sickness. There is no argument about how long I was actually sick. Do you mean 3 days and 3 nights? Instead, people tell me they are glad I'm doing better. The point of these past several slides is that we're getting too literal when discussing on the third day. All right, let's go to Matthew 16 and verse 21, KJV. From that time forth, Jesus began to show unto his disciples how that he must go unto Jerusalem, suffer many things of the elders, the chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and be raised again the third day. The third day does not mean 72 hours after these things. To be raised on the third day after these things means on the third day. So we covered on the third day. Now we ask if we're being too literal with the phrase 3 days and 3 nights. Here are 2 examples, starting with Esther. Let's go to Esther chapter 4, verse 16, KJV. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. Esther 5. In Esther 5, we see that she held 2 banquets. It is likely that Esther would have partaken in the food and drink at these banquets, since it would have been customary for the host to do so. This would have been on the 3rd day of her fast, even though she did not eat or drink anything 3 days and 3 nights. But on the 3rd day, she would have most likely partaken in the food. So fasting for 3 days and nights in this passage is not negated by eating on the 3rd day. All right, next we're going to go to 1 Samuel 30, starting at verse 11 NLT. Earlier in 1 Samuel 30, David and his men were pursuing the Amalekites who had raided their city and taken their wives and children captive, and the story picks up there. Verse 11. Along the way, they found an Egyptian man in the field and brought him to David. They gave him some bread to eat and water to drink. Verse 12. And they also gave him part of a fig cake and 2 clusters of raisins, for he hadn't had anything to eat or drink for 3 days and nights. Before long, his strength returned. 13. To whom do you belong? And where do you come from? David asked him. I am an Egyptian, the slave of an Amalekite, he replied. My master abandoned me 3 days ago because I was sick. The Egyptian was abandoned 3 days ago. Was it 3 days ago or 3 days ago? The Egyptian said he hadn't had anything to eat or drink for 3 days and nights. Is it reasonable to ask the Egyptian if he had eaten exactly 72 hours ago, since he said 3 days and 3 nights? Again, I ask, are we being too literal with the phrase 3 days and 3 nights? I believe that we're being too literal. What do you think? In 3 days, I will raise it up. We will now discuss Jesus saying he will raise up this temple in 3 days. Let's go to John chapter 2, starting at verse 19, KJV. Jesus answered and said unto them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Verse 20. Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? 21. But he spoke of the temple of his body. In 3 days I will raise it up. If we are going to discuss whether 3 days is 72 hours more or less, then we should compare or contrast the current passage, John chapter 2, 19 through 21, with the passages already referenced earlier. What we referenced in Matthew 16, verse 21, Matthew 17, 22 to 23, and Matthew 20, 18 through 19. In these earlier passages, Jesus is going to be raised on the 3rd day. In the current passage, John chapter 2, in 3 days also means he is going to be raised on the 3rd day. The in 3 days reference time frame includes Jesus in captivity, his crucifixion, and his resurrection. Asking if Jesus rose exactly 72 hours after he gave up his spirit is not a valid question, in my opinion. In the heart of the earth. We will now discuss the correlation between Jesus and the story of Jonah. Let's go to Matthew 12 and verse 40 KJV. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Matthew 16 and 4. A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. After he left them, he departed. Heart of the earth. The heart of the earth is the focal point or source of something, or the central or most important part of something. Based on this, it seems as if the heart of the earth is actually Jerusalem and not a grave as believed by some. Someone else would need to prove that a grave and the heart of the earth are the same. You need to defend that position if that's your position. This phrase, heart of the earth, is only used once in the KJV. This phrase is used twice in the Young Literal's translation. See also Isaiah 19 and 24. Some believe that the Jonah reference alluded to Jesus being in a literal grave. The heart of the earth would then have to be a grave. In contrast, the heart of the earth is a reference to Jerusalem, which I will attempt to show. So understanding that the heart of the earth is a reference to Jerusalem will help to clear up the reference to Jonas by Jesus. So let's go over a few details supporting the idea that Jerusalem is the heart of the earth. Jerusalem is mentioned 767 times in the 66 KJV books. It's referenced 959 times in 80 KJV books when including the Apocrypha. Jerusalem is called the City of God. People believe that God resides in Jerusalem. The Lord's name is in Jerusalem. Now let's go over a few passages supporting this idea that Jerusalem is the heart of the earth. Let's go to Matthew 5, starting at verse 34. But I say unto you, soar not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne. 35. Neither by the earth, for it is his footstool. Neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Let's go to 1 Ezra chapter 2, verse 5, RSV. If any one of you, therefore, is of his people, may the Lord be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judea, and build the house of the Lord of Israel. He is the Lord who dwells in Jerusalem. Where is the heart of the earth? For the Lord dwells in Jerusalem. His presence gives life to the earth, in my opinion, making Jerusalem the heart of the earth. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 2, starting at verse 2, KJV. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. 3. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Where is the heart of the earth? Where is the central and most important part of the earth? Everything flows out of Jerusalem. So where is the heart of the earth? Is it a grave or is it Jerusalem? Matthew 20, verse 40, KJV. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Could the heart of the earth be a reference to a literal grave? It seems more reasonable to equate the heart of the earth with Jerusalem as supported by the previous slides. Again, someone else would need to prove that the grave and the heart of the earth are the same thing. From my point of view, the heart is associated with the blood flowing throughout the body, which sustains life. There is no life in the grave from the human point of view. The heart must be Jerusalem. Something to think about. Out of the belly of hell. So let's continue with the Jonah reference where he mentioned the belly of hell. Let's go to Jonah chapter 2, starting at verse 1. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly. 2. And said, I cried by reason of my affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. The NLT, out of, I called to you from the land of the dead. All right, so Jonah likened his experience to being in the belly of hell or the land of the dead. Jonah did not actually die, but was alive the whole time, in my opinion. Otherwise, Jonah would have included a resurrection story. Although he likened his experience to the land of the dead, he was not dead. In the same way, Jesus will go through a form of hell while in Jerusalem, where this hell starts while he is alive. Notice that Jonah cried out to the Lord from the land of the dead or the belly of hell while he was alive. The Messiah also cried out, but not while in the grave, when he said, "Take this cup from me," or "Why hast thou forsaken me?" This belly of hell is something people can experience while alive. The heart of the earth is not a grave, although a person can experience hell there. Many prophets experience a form of hell in Jerusalem, since hell is what they experience before they die there. All right, let's go to Luke 13, verse 33, KJV. "Nevertheless, I must walk today and tomorrow and the day following, for it cannot be that a prophet perish out of Jerusalem." The Messiah must go to the heart of the earth, be betrayed into the hands of sinful men, suffer many things of the elders and priests, be crucified, and then rise on the third day. You start counting from here, right? So now that is hell on earth, 1 through 5. What do you think? When Jesus goes to the heart of the earth and is kissed by Judas, the people can now lay their hands on him. They were not able to do this before, since it was not his time. Days leading up to the Passover celebration. So we're going to actually continue now after we defined all of those phrases. Let's revisit the parts of the day. Sundown marks the beginning of the day, sundown or night. Then we have morning, we have day, afternoon, and as the sun is setting, we have evening or the end of a day. All right, so let's pick up where we left off. Passover celebration is in 2 days. We're on Thursday the 13th. It's going to be Friday, then Saturday, the Passover celebration. We're in the daytime portion of Thursday the 13th. As a reminder, I will have the passages at the bottom of the screen, which is where I get the content from that's in the middle of the screen. 3 parables were told by Jesus. There was a plot against Jesus by the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Do not kill him during the Passover celebration. Judas went unto the chief priests. They gave him 30 pieces of silver. Judas began looking for an opportunity to hand over Jesus. So we presented all this information earlier. The orange arrow has moved over to the right. We're now in the evening portion as the sun is setting. It's 2 days before the Passover celebration. Let's go to Matthew 26 and verse 20, KJV. Now, when the even was come, he sat down with the 12 apostles. Mark 14 and 17, KJV. And in the evening, he cometh with the 12 apostles. Luke 22 and 14, also KJV. And when the hour was come, he sat down and the 12 apostles with him. All right, let's go to John 13, starting at verse 26, RSV. Jesus answered, "It is he to whom I shall give this morsel when I have dipped it." So when he had dipped the morsel, he gave it to Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot. 27. Then after the morsel, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him, "What you are going to do, do quickly." 28. No one at the table knew why he said this to them. 29. Some thought that because Judas had the money box, Jesus was telling him, "But buy what we need for the feast," or that he should give something to the poor. If Jesus and the apostles were already eating or have completed eating the Passover meal, then the apostles would not think that Judas was going to buy something for the upcoming feast in verse 29. 30. So after receiving the morsel, he immediately went out, and it was night. So we see in verse 30 that the day transitions to night, so we are now in the next day, which is the 14th. So we're in the 14th. It's a day of preparation now. People are allowed to buy what we need for the feast. So this is not the Sabbath day or the first day of unleavened bread on the 15th. So people are allowed to buy and sell. We discussed this in the Last Supper video. Let's go to Mark 14, starting at verse 26, KJV. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. 27. And Jesus said unto them, All ye shall be offended because of me this night, for it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. Again, as we continue in Mark 14, we have transitioned to the next day because it is night. We are now in the 14th day of the month. So we are in the nighttime of Friday the 14th. It's basically the start of the day. We are one day away from the Passover celebration. The 14th is the Passover, aka the day of preparation, when the lamb is sacrificed later in the evening. And we're going to see that. We will focus on these 3 days for the remainder of this video. Did the Messiah rise on the third day? We're here on the 14th, which is a Friday, and these are the passages we will focus on from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We will go over all 4 accounts in the order that they are written. Jesus and the disciples go out to the Mount of Olives. Jesus said, "All will be offended because of me this night." Peter says he will never be offended because of Jesus. Jesus predicts Peter's denial. "Tonight you will deny me." Jesus instructs his disciples to buy a sword if they do not have one. Jesus gives a new command. Jesus, the way to the Father. Jesus promises the Holy Spirit, the vine and the branches. The world hates the disciples, the work of the Holy Spirit. The disciples' grief will turn to joy. Jesus prays to be glorified. Jesus prays for his disciples. Jesus prays for all believers. So there's a lot of familiar passages that took place at this time. Let's go to John 14, starting at verse 30, NLT. "I don't have much more time to talk to you because the ruler of this world approaches. He has no power over me." 31, "But I will do what the Father requires of me, so that the world will know that I love the Father. Come, let's be going." Let's continue on the 14th. Jesus and the disciples go to Gethsemane. Jesus goes a little further to pray. Jesus is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. "Let this cup pass from me, but not as I will, but as you will." Jesus is betrayed by Judas. The power of darkness now reigns. Peter drew his sword and cut off the ear of a servant of the high priest. Jesus arrested and taken to Annas, the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was the high priest at the time. Let's go to Matthew 26, starting at verse 46, KJV. "Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that does betray me." 47, "And while he yet spoke, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves, from the chief priests and the elders of the people." 48, "Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, the same as he, hold him fast." 49, "And forthwith he came to Jesus and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him." Luke 22 and verse 53, NLT. "Why didn't you arrest me in the temple? I was there every day, but this is your moment, the time when the power of darkness reigns." Recall that the chief priests said not to apprehend Jesus during the feast day, so this is not occurring on the Passover feast or the first day of unleavened bread. This is the day of preparation. Captivity in the belly of hell. "Out of the belly cried I. Out of the belly of hell cried I." Let's go to Mark 9 and 31, KJV. "For he taught his disciples and said unto them, The Son of Man is delivered into the hands of men, and they shall kill him, and after he is killed, he shall rise on the third day." The Messiah has been betrayed into the hands of men in the current passage. He is now in captivity in the heart of the earth, which is Jerusalem. The belly of hell starts now. Countdown for 3 days and 3 nights. This night, where Judas kisses Jesus, this night is Friday the 14th, and it's the first night of 3 days and 3 nights. Annas questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. Jesus said that he had spoken openly to the world. He continued saying, "Why question him when Annas can ask those who heard him?" On hearing this, one of the officials slapped Jesus in the face. Annas sent Jesus to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and elders were assembled. Jesus before the Sanhedrin, where all the council sought false witness against him in order to put him to death. Jesus said, "From now on, you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One." The high priest tore his clothes and said that Jesus has spoken blasphemy. Then they spit in his face and struck him with their fist. Peter accused of being with Jesus. So this slide and the previous slide, as well as the slide to come, actually go together. They're all during Peter's denials. But first, let's talk about the Sanhedrin. Most scholars believe that the Sanhedrin did not hold trials on the Sabbath since it may be considered work. Therefore, the Sanhedrin Council did not sit in judgment on the Sabbath or festival days. In order to avoid Sabbath law violations, the Sanhedrin met early in the day, which is at night, so as not to drag on until the Sabbath. So they have a whole day to get this trial over with. Peter's second and third denials. The rooster crowed. Peter remembered what Jesus said, "Before the cock crows today, you will deny me 3 times." Peter wept bitterly. The guards began mocking and beating Jesus. They blindfolded him and asked him to prophesy as to who hit him. So we're in the morning or the daytime portion of Friday the 14th. The orange arrow has moved over to the right some. The Sanhedrin gathered again at daybreak. They asked Jesus if he was the Christ. Jesus said if he tells them that they will not believe anyway. Then he said, "But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated in the place of power at God's right hand." The Sanhedrin shouted, "So, are you claiming to be the Son of God?" Remember, the Sanhedrin Council does not sit in judgment on the Sabbath or the festival day. So this is the day of preparation. Judas realizes that Jesus was condemned to die and was sorry. He returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priest. He admitted that he had betrayed innocent blood. Judas then hanged himself. The trial of Jesus before Caiaphas ended early in the morning. Jesus was taken to Pilate, the governor's palace. To avoid ceremonial uncleanness, his accusers did not enter the palace. Why? They wanted to be able to eat the Passover, which is the next day. Jesus accused of forbidding people to give tribute to Caesar. "Art thou the king of the Jews?" Jesus sent to Herod. Jesus was asked many questions but did not answer. The soldiers mocked him and dressed him in a gorgeous robe. Jesus was sent back to Pilate. Neither Herod or Pilate found anything deserving of death. Custom of Pilate was to release a prisoner at the Passover. The people asked for Barabbas and said, "Let Jesus be crucified." Remember in Jonah chapter 2, 1 and 2, that Jonah related his experience as being in the land of the dead or the belly of hell. Jesus is going through hell right now. Hell on earth, but not in the grave. The orange arrow has moved over to the right ever so little. We're in the early afternoon of Friday the 14th. Jesus flogged with a whip. Jesus stripped of the previous robe and a scarlet robe was put on him. They put a crown of thorns on his head. The leading priests and the temple guard shouted, "Crucify him! Crucify him! If you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend." Pilate sat down on the judgment seat. The chief priests said that they have no king but Caesar. The people spit on Jesus. After they had mocked him, they took the robe off him and put his own clothing back on him. They led him away to be crucified, and it was the preparation of the Passover. Jesus is still going through hell on earth. We are in the first day of 3 days and 3 nights. Let's go to John 19 and verse 14, KJV. "And it was the preparation of the Passover, and about the 6th hour, and he said unto the Jews, Behold your king." This had to be done today, since the celebration is tomorrow on the Sabbath. We are now in the afternoon portion of Friday the 14th, the day of preparation, when Jesus was sent to the place of the skull. Jesus led away to be crucified. Simon carried the cross initially. Jesus at the place of the skull. 2 criminals were led out to be executed with him. Soldiers divided the clothes of Jesus into 4 parts. Soldiers cast lots for the tunic. The people shouted, "You said you were going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Well then, save yourself and come down from the cross." He saved others, but he cannot save himself. Jesus tells one criminal, "Today you will be with me in paradise." From the 6th hour there was darkness all over the land until the 9th hour. My God, why hast thou forsaken me?" He's calling Elijah. Someone got a sponge, filled it with wine vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it to Jesus to drink. Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to save him. The sanctuary curtain was torn down the middle. Jesus said, "It is finished." He bowed his head and gave up his spirit. Hell, in the heart of the earth known as Jerusalem, continues for the Messiah. Jesus was the sacrifice on this Passover, or day of preparation. Let's go to John 19:31 NLT. It was the day of preparation, and the Jewish leaders didn't want the bodies hanging there the next day, which was the Sabbath, and a very special Sabbath because it was Passover week. So they asked Pilate to hasten their deaths by ordering that their legs be broken. Then their bodies could be taken down. Note that the weekly Sabbath and the first day of unleavened bread are on the same day in this video. Not to diminish the weekly Sabbath, but according to the text, this was a very special Sabbath because of Passover. Let's continue reading in this passage. Let's go to verse 32. Then came the soldiers and broke the legs of the first and of the other which was crucified with him. 33. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was dead already, they broke not his legs. 34. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. Jesus died on the day of preparation, which is the 14th. All right, the orange arrow has moved over to the right a little bit. We're in the evening. The sun is setting on Friday the 14th. Now the even was approaching. Joseph of Arimathea begged Pilate for the body of Jesus. Joseph and Nicodemus took the body and wrapped it in linen cloths. Nicodemus brought about 75 pounds of perfumed ointment made from myrrh and aloes. The place of the crucifixion was near a garden where there was a new tomb never used before. Let's go to Mark 15:42 KJV. And now when the even was come, because it was the preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath. Matthew 27:57 KJV. When the even was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea named Joseph, who also himself was a disciple of Jesus. It is the evening of Friday the 14th. They applied fragrant spices according to the burial custom of the Jews. They placed the body in a nearby tomb because of the Jewish day of preparation. The next day was to be a special Sabbath. The woman from Galilee followed and saw the tomb where his body was placed. The woman went home and prepared spices and perfumes, but they rested on the Sabbath in obedience to the commandment. Like I said in episode 38, we're going through all of this methodically so that you only have to watch the video one time. It may seem slow, which it is, but it's for your benefit as well as mine. The orange arrow has shifted over to the right. We are on Saturday the 15th at sundown or night. The one gospel source that we're citing doesn't record anything here at this time, so we're not going to show anything. But it is assumed that everyone would have eaten the Passover meal with unleavened bread at this time. This night is the second night of 3 days and 3 nights. All right, the orange arrow has shifted to the right. We're in the daytime portion of Saturday the 15th, the Sabbath day. This is the day of unleavened bread. This is now the next day following the day of preparation. Now is the Sabbath. We remember the deceiver said, "After 3 days I will rise again." Pilate said to make the tomb as secure as you can. They secured the tomb by setting a seal on the stone and placing the guards. This day is the second day of 3 days and 3 nights. All right, the arrow has moved over to the right. We're on the next day, sundown or night of Sunday the 16th, the first day of the week. One gospel does not record anything happening at this time frame. This night, however, is the third night of 3 days and 3 nights. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 3 nights. The first day of the week, the arrow has moved over to the right. We're still on Sunday the 16th. We're in the morning or daytime portion. We are now in the third day of 3 nights, of 3 days and 3 nights of hell in the heart of the earth, which is Jerusalem. There was a great earthquake, and an angel of the Lord rolled back the stone at the tomb. Very early in the morning, on the first day of the week, the woman went to the tomb at sunrise. They brought the spices which they had prepared. The woman found the stone rolled away from the tomb. The woman entered and found not the body of the Lord Jesus. 2 men in shining garments suddenly appeared to them. "Why are you looking among the dead for someone who is alive?" The woman went back and told the apostles. Peter and the other disciple headed for the tomb. The head wrap was folded up in a separate place by itself. Let's go to Luke 24, starting at verse 6, KJV. "He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spoke unto you when he was yet in Galilee. 7, saying, the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men, and be crucified, and the third day rise again." So the angel's words are consistent with the words of Jesus spoken earlier. And again, it is my belief that this hell Jesus went through started when he was delivered into the hands of sinful men, initiated by the kiss of Judas. All right, we're going to continue with Sunday the 16th, the first day of the week. This day is the third day of the 3 days and 3 nights. 1, 2, and 3. We got 3 days. So we showed you 3 nights. We're showing you 3 days. Mary returned and stood outside the tomb. She saw Jesus standing and knew not that it was Jesus. Thinking he was the gardener, she asked where he had put the body of Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Mary." "Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. Go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father." Let's take a moment to talk about the Mark ending debate. So some scholars say that Mark 16 should end at verse 8, and that the rest of the chapter was added later or during actual translation into English. Note, however, that Matthew 28 and John 20 also have accounts of Mary returning to the tomb. At the bottom of the slide, I will put Mark 16 in parentheses to indicate the possibility that it was added later, and that we do not need later parts of Mark since other passages include the relevant details. So you can see at the bottom of this slide, the Mark 16 reference is in parentheses. We are still in the daytime portion of Sunday the 16th. Let's continue. The guards reported everything that had happened. Soldiers given a large sum of money to lie. Say that his disciples came during the night and stole him while they were sleeping. This saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day. This same day, 2 disciples were on the way to Emmaus. Jesus appeared to them, but they were prevented from recognizing him. He asked them what they were discussing. Let's go to Luke 24, starting at verse 19. "And he said unto them, What things? And they said unto him, Concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people." 20. "And how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death, and have him crucified." 21. "But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. And besides all this, today is the third day since these things were done." The words spoken of the 2 disciples going to Emmaus were consistent with the words of Jesus spoken earlier. All these things were done by the third day. First day of the week, we're in the evening as the sun is setting on Sunday, the 16th. The two disciples asked Jesus to stay with him since it is almost evening. The day is almost over. Jesus reclined at the table with the two disciples. Jesus took the bread, blessed, and broke it and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened and they recognized him. That very hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem. They found the apostles and those with them gathered together. They described what had happened on the road. It is the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, and the disciples were discussing the events. Jesus himself stood in their midst. So why they were discussing this? They were all frightened and thought they were seeing a ghost. Look at my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Touch me and see. So by this time, Jesus' trip through the belly of hell is over, in my opinion. Luke 24 and 36, KJV. And as they thus spoke, Jesus himself stood in the midst of them and said unto them, Peace be unto you. But they were terrified and affrighted, and supposed that they had seen a spirit. 38. And he said unto them, Why are you troubled? Why do thoughts arise in your hearts? 39. Behold my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me, and see. For a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as ye see me have. The appearance of Jesus to the disciples was on the first day of the week, the 16th. This is consistent with the timing mentioned in the Gospels, on the third day. All right, let's summarize some things. But first, what do you think? Now that you watched this video up to this point, we have a few more questions. Can we experience hell on earth? Are we taking the phrase 3 days and 3 nights too literal? Was Jesus in the grave for a full 3 days and nights? Or was Jesus in the heart of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights? Please put your answers in the comment section of this video. You can send us an email. Check the description box of our channel for that email. We also try to put our email in every description of all of our videos. Once again, thank you for the responses. Now let's quickly summarize 3 days and 3 nights. Did Jesus rise on the third day? Did Jesus go into the heart of the earth on Passover the 14th, experience hell on earth, and then rise from the dead on the first day of the week, the 16th? In Matthew 26, 46 through 49, Judas delivered Jesus into the hands of sinful men on the Passover, the 14th, in Jerusalem, which is the heart of the earth. This is when hell on earth started, with a kiss from Judas. Regarding hell on earth, let's see how Jesus was mistreated. Let's see how Jesus went through hell on earth. Everyone abandoned Jesus. His disciples fled. Peter denied him 3 times. He was betrayed by a close disciple and apostle, Judas, enduring the feeling of being forsaken by the Most High. Jesus was humiliated. He was mocked by the guards, blindfolded, dressed in various robes, had a crown of thorns put on his head. Soldiers cast lots for his tunic. Jesus was physically abused. He was slapped in the face, spit in the face, struck with fists, beaten by the guards, flogged with a whip, felt unimaginable pain, and was crucified. That was hell on earth. If that is not hell on earth, then what is? Most of all, Jesus was completely innocent. Another black man wrongly convicted. This is obviously my opinion, but the justice system did let him down. Did Jesus rise on the third day? In Luke 24, 6 and 7, angels reminded us on the first day of the week, the 16th, that Jesus had to be delivered into the hands of sinful men, be crucified, and rise on the third day. Luke 24, 19 through 23 completes the story on the first day of the week, the 16th, stating that Jesus was condemned to death, was crucified, and a vision of angels told the women that he was alive. And all this took place within 3 days, on the third day. Let's show how all of this fits together in a different way that might be easier to see. Now let's look at it this way. We have Friday the 14th, Saturday the 15th, and Sunday the 16th, all on the screen. So how long? The first night, we had the preparation day. Judas betrays Jesus. He's in the hands of sinful men. He was seen by Annas and Caiaphas, and all the disciples flee. The first day, Judas was remorseful. He visited Pilate and Herod. There was the crucifixion. He was the Passover lamb, and there was the burial. The second night, this is the first day of unleavened bread. It's also the Sabbath day. The Passover meal is eaten with unleavened bread. The second day, the guards secure the tomb as best they can. The third night, this is the first day of the week. The third day, the women see angels. Peter was at the tomb. Mary sees Jesus. There was the Emmaus disciples, and then the apostles see Jesus in 3 days. And this was all within 3 days. Jesus went into the heart of the earth on Passover the 14th and experienced hell on earth. Then he rose from the dead on the first day of the week, the 16th. All within 72 hours. And not 3 days and 3 nights, but 3 nights and 3 days. Something to think about. This concludes today's topic on 3 days and 3 nights. How long was Jesus in the grave? Hashtag 3 days, 3 nights. This video contains our personal opinions and interpretations only and is not meant to dictate doctrine where you teach. We are students and not teachers, so we would appreciate your feedback. If you have any serious questions, talk to your spiritual advisor. Thank you for watching. Something to think about. I am Brother Mike, and my brother is Brother Mitch. We are the brothers. We are disciples of Yahawashi. Shalom and Shalom Israel. God bless Christians. Peace and blessings to everyone else. See you next time.
Follow the brothers
on YouTube,
Hebrew Connect TV,
X,
Fanbase, Rumble, or visit their website.
See also Facebook, Gab, and Truth.
The following is an HBO special featuring the brothers.
Yo, can you help the brothers out?
HBO special.
You can use PayPal.
The brothers need some digital money.
Or you can use Cash App.
Every little bit helps.
Please support their efforts.
You can even use a credit card.
And Venmo.
Why are you selling cookies?
Please help support this organization.
It's okay if you can't give. Just spread the word.
That's just as important as giving.